Welcome to the Appetite for Discussion show with your host, Brendan Crouch.
All right. Thank you. And hello to everyone out there, all of you listeners. Before we jump right in, a few little thank yous. Thank you to States Vegas Clothing Company. Do you guys have any States Vegas gear? If you don't, you should. They have supported me throughout the season of this show, giving me all of my T-shirts for this season. Thank you for that. Check them out on Facebook, States Vegas Clothing Company. Also, it's springtime, ladies and gentlemen. Time to get rid of all that unwanted junk. And if you have unwanted junk, give Hunk of Junk Calling a call at 704-657-6778, and they will give you a free estimate. And also, thank you to a brand spanking new show supporter. Do you have home insurance? Do you have auto insurance? Do you need life insurance? Well, everyone has to have it. It's one of those things you must have. So give Kasey.tate a call. You can look him up on my website. You'll see that in the link here below. He is Kasey.tate at Farm Bureau Insurance. And now that all that's out of the way, I would like to introduce my guest for tonight, a longtime friend. I've known this beautiful lady here for over 23 years. Well, 20 years, actually. 20
time.
years this year. Yeah. Miss Jodi Belcher.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's good.
Hey, well, thank you. Thank you for coming on. And since you've known me for so long, we're going to keep all those personal, not flattering stories about myself.
That goes both ways.
Yeah. So we'll save that for another time.
Absolutely.
Fair deal?
Yes.
All right. Like I tell every guest, if we ever start going down a road that you start to feel uncomfortable with, the safe word here on the show is pineapple.
Oh, okay, good.
Right. So if you're like, pineapple.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. All right, we'll switch gears.
Absolutely.
All right. So tonight, I really don't even think I know the story of a few things. And how did Rainbow Kidz itself get its start?
So Rainbow Kidz is a program of hospice and palliative care of Iredell County. And it actually started years ago when the former CEO was there. They started it originally to help pediatric patients. Mm-hmm. And it was small because we're from a small town. But it has actually grown into a huge program. Leanne Darty is the director of that program. She's amazing. She's awesome. And it has turned a lot into grief groups for children that have lost siblings or parents or grandparents or aunts or uncles or whatever. And she has grief groups in the schools. She does private groups. We still serve pediatric patients, so those families are a part of our Rainbow Kidz program. But I think the biggest thing is the support for those young children after they lose people. Mm-hmm. Because we kind of forget that children have grief too. We kind of forget that we always say, oh, children are resilient and they'll bounce back and they're so happy. But, we kind of forget that they have a lot of feelings that they need to get in touch with too. So those programs have really gone in, and like I said, she's in like 30 schools in the county doing groups. And she has individual groups that she does, and they have a camp they do. It was 1 week and it's finally turned into 2 weeks. And they have ages from kindergarten to high school. We have actually a couple of people that are working for us now that are Rainbow Kid graduates.
Oh, wow.
One of our social workers, she just got her social work license, and she is working for the Rainbow Kidz program. So it's something that started a long time ago as a little tiny program, and it has just blown up.
Well, talk about full circle. You start in something, you graduate through something, and then it impacts you so much that that's what you want to do for the rest of your life. What a great story.
Yeah.
You'll like to see that happen more and more of that
to.
program, but other programs that are offered to kids that influences them and impacts them enough to where they want to give back.
Right.
Right. Is the program free?
It is.
It is free.
It is free. And it's not just for like families of our patients at hospice. They serve all the children in all the schools. Like if your loved one that died wasn't one of our patients, then that's okay. We're here for you too. And a lot there's been a couple times that there has been some tragedies happen in some of our middle schools and our elementary schools that Leanne and our chaplains and a couple of our social workers have just gone there to the campus to just be support for those kids and stuff like that. So I think it really sends a good message of, we're here for you. We're not forgetting you just because you're under the age of 20.
It's okay. A little bit of feedback. That's all right. No big deal. But that's good. And so how do they find out about the program? Do you guys talk about them? Do you guys share the information, let them know about the program prior to
So I think people find out about it in a couple different ways.
Yeah.
Of course, Leanne does a lot of marketing. We're on a lot, like you'll see the Rainbow Kidz symbol on a lot of the hospice advertisements and things like that. And she pushes information out to counselors in the schools. So all the school systems have that information, and, they referred kids to us. And so I think it's a few different ways. Our nurses, our case managers at hospice that have patients that have grandchildren or young patients that have children, we always mention that to them and encourage them to take advantage of those programs. So,
have you seen kids today, since you've been involved with Rainbow Kidz? It's easier for them to admit or seek help, or is it becoming more difficult? And the reason I ask that question is because, me being a guy, number one, but number two, as a kid, you don't want to ask for help. You're embarrassed. It's a sign. Some people may see it as being,
Right.
Wimpy,
right.
or a sign of weakness.
So I can only answer that through my own personal experience with my own kids. So Adam, I have a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
So Adam, when his older brother died, he was 8. And he was my inward child. He didn't really show emotion a whole lot because he protected me. He was a mama's boy and he protected me. And so he really didn't show a whole lot of outward emotion. So when Leanne got involved with him and he got involved in the grief groups, then that gave him the opportunity to be like, hey, you know what? Everybody around this table is just like me. I'm not, I think for a little while he walked around feeling like he had a sign on his head that said, my brother died.
Yeah.
You know what
that's
I mean?
fair.
And I'm not like you and you don't know how I feel.
Yeah.
So when he started participating in these groups, he was at a table with all these people that shared the same feelings he did.
Right.
And so he was like, hey, this is not so bad and I'm not so different. I'm not so weird that I can't express my feelings the way I need to. So I think that it's not a matter of them asking. I think it's just getting them to open up and see that it's okay for them to sit in those groups, and it's okay for them to know that they're not the only ones. That there's a lot of people out there that are their age that feel the same way they do.
They're going through the same thing.
Yeah.
I've learned that when you lose a loved one, it takes a long time to get back to normal. But if you lose someone tragically, it could take up to 2 years to feel normal, for you to get back to your normal again. And, being someone that, we lost Chris unexpectedly right before Christmas, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I go to grievance counseling.
Absolutely.
You try to be strong for everybody, but if you don't deal with it, even if you're a kid or a grown man, if you suppress it, or a grown woman,
That's right.
if you suppress it, it's going to come out negatively somewhere else. So I didn't want that to happen.
Well, and I think that's what we see with some of these kids. And Leanne is so good with the statistics. You would just be amazed. These kids, they lose parents or grandparents or people that are really close to them, and their grades start dropping. They start getting in trouble. Any kind of attention is good attention, bad behavior, things like that. And then Leanne gets them in these groups and they have somewhere positive to point all that negative attention to. And so you see their grades turn around, you see their attitudes turn around, you see them graduate when maybe they wouldn't, Meredith is the little social worker. I hope she don't mind me mentioning her, but she is our social worker that is just amazing. And she was one of our Rainbow kids, and she volunteers in everything. And she is just the best, well-rounded young person.
That sounds rare.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you were talking about getting back to normal. I have had a couple of friends that have lost children since we lost Timmy and things like that. And I always say, you will never be normal again.
Yeah.
You'll never be normal. You find a new normal. You find a new way of life without those people that you love. But I don't think that grief has a timeline or ever goes away. I think that people deals with it in different ways, and you learn how to deal with it in a positive way, but it's not something that just goes away. And I don't think that time makes things better. I think you figure out how to deal with it better in time.
That's well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we have tried to teach our children,
Sitting here listening to you, I'm sitting here thinking it's great that the kids have an opportunity to learn about this and have this program is available. But I start to wonder how many kids have to depend on their parents to be open and accepting and willing and understanding that they're going through something, and they depend on that parent for like transportation to get to the meeting. So if the parent isn't open and they're doing their own sort of grieving process, they're the child who needs to go or wants to go has to have a parent that's open to taking them too, right?
So I think that's where the school groups are amazing, because these groups take place during school.
During school?
Yes.
Oh.
So they can go to their grief group during school. And so they're already there. They don't need transportation, so they can take advantage of it either way.
I hope kids in school, because kids are cruel.
Oh, dude.
So in a few episodes, you were one of the bullies.
No,
so
whatever.
a few episodes back, I had Mr. Marvel in here who does a magic show about anti-bullying.
I listened to that podcast.
Oh, thank you. All
You're
right.
welcome.
We got one.
I did. I listened to it.
So, but I could sit here and put myself back in that 7th, 8th, 6th grade seat and having some kid who's leaving class or isn't here or wherever they may be and grieving, and I could see that one bad intentioned kid singling that one out, and that interfering with them not wanting to continue. So hopefully that's not happening. But it just made me think of Mr. Marvel, and he did really a good job too of explaining with the paper and the words that hurt people, and how people should go back and listen to that if you haven't listened to it yet. It's a really good message.
It really is. So I have a daughter that just started middle school this year.
How was that?
Well, I am not gonna say I hate middle school. I do not like middle school. So I think that, we're old, Brandon. So middle school has changed a lot since we've been there, and I think kids are 10 times meaner than they used to be.
That scares me as a brand new father of a daughter.
Exactly.
And a son.
It is.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, you're going to pray a lot and hope that they just make it through. So we actually just pulled Lily out and we're homeschooling her.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Is it because of just the environment? Pineapple?
Pineapple.
All right, fair enough. So go back to grieving for a second. How old was Lily when Timmy passed?
She was 4.
She was 4.
Yep, she was 4 and Adam was 8.
So Adam probably had more of a grieving process than Lily did.
Mm-hmm. So Adam remembers a lot about his brother. Lily remembers a lot because we have videos and pictures and things like that. But her memory, she just remembers flashes of him. But now Adam, he can remember like whole trips and whole him and what they did together and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, his was a lot more difficult than hers.
And how old was Timmy when he was first diagnosed?
10.
He was 10 years old. How did you
Mhm.
guys know something was off or something wasn't right?
Well, his mama was a nurse.
She still is a nurse.
So sometimes when you are the child of a nurse, you just kind of get blown off when you have ailments. But so he was in 4th grade, fourth grade.
5th grade, yeah.
And he got kicked in the leg in PE
Mhm.
one day, and he had a little bruise right up on the outer part of his thigh, and he showed it to us one night, and he was like, "Hey, I got this bruise here, little knot, kind of hurts." I was like, "We'll watch it for a while. It'll be okay." And he never said anything else about it. And then like a month later, he came in the living room and he had a towel wrapped around him, and it looked like he had his fist balled up in his pocket.
Oh
This
my.
huge knot was on his leg. And I just kind of looked at Tim and I was like, what is that? And so, like, no other symptoms,
Mhm.
I mean, usually they would be tired or not eating or something like that, but it was just this knot that showed up on his leg. And so I told Tim, I said, we might need to make a pediatrician appointment. And so the next day I went to work. Tim took him to the pediatrician, and our life completely spiraled out of control from that day on.
And what was the what type of cancer did he have?
So he had a type of cancer called rhabdomyosarcoma, which is a cancer of the soft tissue and muscle.
Is it rare?
It is so rare.
Really?
Yes.
Was it possibly due to, they think, some from the trauma of getting kicked, or was that just what sparked attention to
That's
the area?
just what sparked attention to it. That kind of cancer is actually like one little cell in your body gone rogue, and it just explodes.
Yeah.
And so it's fast growing,
Aggressive.
hard to treat. When Timmy got we went to different hospitals, but he got most of his treatment at Baptist Hospital. And, when we first sit down with the doctors, they were like, this is so rare. We're just going to blaze a trail through, see what we can do. I mean, because it was
Right.
rare. They consulted with like people from Sloan Kettering and
Okay.
MD Anderson and things like that. So they pulled a lot of people in and got a lot of wisdom, but yeah, it was super rare and very scary.
Now being a father and also being a nurse, we know too much.
Just enough to be dangerous.
And this is nothing in comparison, but the whole, you're a nurse, your kids kind of get swept under the rug. I noticed that Dempsey 2 weeks ago had a little petechial rash around his eye and cheek on the right side, and I thought, that's weird. We just all of us had a GI bug.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe from puking he popped a little capillaries or whatnot. And it kind of went away. And then it showed up again this week over here on the eye again. And then on Friday morning last week, it developed around the left eye. And it didn't blanch. So I was like, well, this is either, a viral infection, because he is sick, medication reaction, which we're not taking any medicine, or, a blood disorder. So he went, right.
Of course, first thing you're like, it's a blood disorder. That's I know it is.
It's leukemia. We got yeah. Oh, absolutely. So we took him. Kristen took him Saturday morning. I was doing a job, and they did blood work and said, if this comes back, it's stat order. If this comes back not what we're thinking, we'll have to send you to Brenner's today. Yeah. So you want to talk about? You can understand. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to puke. I wanted to cry, and I wanted to puke. Yeah. And I'm a little over. Kristen says I'm more of a helicopter parent. I try not to be. I feel like they're still, they don't need to necessarily fall off the third step on the concrete yet. When they get a little older, we can try that. But,
I think that's hilarious that you're like that, because if we were to ask Rita how much of a hellion you were when you were running around.
Pineapple. That's for another show. But it's because we know enough to be dangerous and to realize the harm and what could happen if they did fall or that lymph node that's still there the size of a pea that's not going away. Yeah. My mind, I go down the rabbit hole, man.
Me too.
Even with my own body, I'm down the rabbit holes. Another
Well-
episode.
Ask Karen how many times a year I get a brain tumor because my sinuses are tore up.
You too?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, who sang the song? Michael Jackson. You Were Not Alone.
That's right.
Oh, I'm always trying to diagnose myself with something.
That's right.
So he was diagnosed, and then what type of treatment was what blaze trail did you guys go down of therapy?
So we had a couple different options. It was a whole lot. And so what we did was we did a full year of aggressive treatment. Like he would have 4-day chemo treatments and have to stay in the hospital for 4 days and then be home for 2 weeks and do that whole rotation over again. And we did that for months. And then he had 6, Tim is my stats man. So when I'm not good with like dates and numbers and stuff like that, he's usually the one that remembers all that stuff. But it was either 6 or 8 months every single day of radiation. So him and Tim drove back and forth to Baptist every day. And the reason Tim drove him is because where they did his radiation at, he had to be exposed.
Yeah.
And he would not let anybody but his father and my best friend, one of my really good friends, Mandy, worked in radiation down there during that time. So those are the only 2 people that could ever be in the room with him. And so his dad drove him every day. And so they did that for 6 or 8 months. I can't remember how long it was. And, he had like 2 different surgeries and in the beginning to get all that tumor out and things like that. And so we did that for a solid year. And then after that, they never called him in remission because you have to be completely cancer-free for 5 years before that kind of cancer goes into remission. So after that year, he was clear. And he was clear for about 3 months. And then it came back. And so we did more treatments. And so we were back and forth like that until the 4th time.
So it recurred 4 times.
We were lucky to have him as long as we did. And we were lucky that he stayed as healthy as he did through some of it because we got to travel and we got to make memories and do things like that, because they told us that if it ever recurred, it would recur. So it started low on him. They said if it ever came back, it would come back high.
Okay.
In his heart, lungs, things like that. Well, the first 3 times it came back low.
Localized.
Kidneys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was, he had to have a kidney taken out and some different things, but it was always below his diaphragm. So that was unusual. So that was the first 3 times. And then the very last time it came back in his neck. So, and he was very much a part of his treatment plan as young as he was. Even when he was diagnosed at 10 years old, Tim and I were always like, we always told the doctors, talk to him and make him understand and then talk to us. Because it was his body and it was the things that he was going through and things that were going to be happening to him. So we wanted him to understand. And so the whole time he was very involved. And so the last time when he was 16 and it came back and he was like, I'm done. He was like, I'm done. I don't want any more surgery, no more chemo, no more treatments. I just want to go home and be with my buddies. And I'm just done. It was hard for me as a mama, but on the other side of that, it was a blessing for me too, because I didn't have to make that decision. Tim and I didn't have to decide, okay, are we going to keep going? Because he was so fragile and frail. And we got to the point where, is it the disease or the treatment that's going to take him out, And so we were so blessed because we didn't have to make that decision, that he was involved enough and informed enough and kept himself informed enough that he made those decisions. And so when it came back and they were like, well, we're going to do a CT scan, he was like, you know what it is. You know what it is. I know what it is. I just want to go home.
Man.
Yeah.
What a strong kid.
Incredible.
There's not a lot of kids that are going to be that involved or understand, maybe after dealing with it for so long and so many recurrences, but even adults wouldn't, do not handle and do not manage the news that they're taking that well.
You're right. So I work for Hospice and Palliative Care of Iredell County.
Right.
So I see patients, adults that are ready, and patients and adults that are not ready. And you're right. Some people do it beautifully, some people not so beautifully. When Timmy had an experimental surgery done at MD Anderson, it was the last surgery that he did. He is the one that actually found this world-renowned surgeon that was performing this, and he read up on it and read everything on the internet there was to read about her and it and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, Mom, we need to slit it across the table. We need to try this. And if this don't work, we're done.
Did you try it?
Oh, yeah.
Y'all did it, right?
Remember we went to MD Anderson. Karen came down.
Yes,
Emily was there.
Yes, I
it was
remember
like 22 hours long.
What was the physician's name? Do you remember?
Oh, Andrea. Oh, gosh.
I do remember this now.
Karen Cordette, if you are listening right now, I want you to Facebook that lady's name because I cannot remember.
She's on it now.
Andrea Jordan. Oh, my gosh. I can't, but she was amazing. She's one of those surgeons that walk through the room and you can just see her knowledge drip off of her.
That's something that no one's ever said about me. And will never say. You can say what you want about that Brandon, but when he walks in the room, the knowledge just boom, drops right off him. The dude oozes knowledge. Never. You should never say never. But I'm going to say that's not how anyone's never ever going to describe me.
I'm so sorry, but you're cute.
What? That's almost like a bless his heart.
Bless it.
Yeah, he's so stupid, but he's cute.
Bless him.
He's the only one dumb enough to sit here and ask people questions. But so he's the one who actually reached out. And did Karen answer? Since we're doing this Facebook Live, and I even texted her, which I don't do.
Come on, Karen.
She's packing socks and underwear.
Yeah, she is for her.
Andrea Jordan Hayes.
Andrea Jordan Hayes.
Good job, Karen.
That wasn't Karen.
Oh, that was.
Oh, it was
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tim. So she is actually not at MD Anderson anymore. She is at Duke or Chapel Hill, and she has started a whole new program there, and she's teaching doctors to do this surgery that she did on Timmy. Yeah.
So do you think her experience with Timmy and doing this experimental surgery, she's probably written about it in a medical journal or published about it?
Could almost bet you.
Isn't that neat?
Yes, it's awesome.
It would be interesting would you want to read it if you could get a hold of it?
I would love to read it. So I think, and Tim, if you can hear me and you can answer this, I think that Timmy was like one of the first 4 that she did.
Oh, wow.
And I think that he was actually the youngest and the only one that had, there was something else specific. I can't remember, but he was like in the first 4, maybe even the first 3 that she did it on.
Maybe one of my 17 subscribers could answer, could find that for you.
She's now at UNC.
Oh, okay. She's at Chapel Hill.
She's at Chapel Hill. All right. Awesome. Go Hills. I like her. I like her even more now. So it'd be interesting to see how many she completed in the study and how it has progressed. Like what she learned from them, because that was how many years ago?
Let's see, 9
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
So we are getting ready to have the 9th ride and run. Timmy was at the first one, and we left that day to go to MD Anderson.
I was there for that.
We left the day of the ride and run to go to MD Anderson, so it's been 9 years ago.
So how did I'm probably not going to say this right, so I apologize. But is it the namesake, or how did the run become named after Timmy?
Okay, so this is really cool. So Timmy was a fantastic child, and when he was sick, so many people helped us. I mean, we had so much support from the community and our church and our family and our friends, and just, I mean, we were working in the ER then together, and you remember just everybody was just so good to us. And so Timmy saw this all these years. And so one day we were just hanging out talking about he didn't get to go to school a whole lot
Right.
towards the end, and so he was bored. And so he was like, Mom, I'd really like to do something to give back. I'm not sure what that is, not sure what I want to do, but I'd like to do something. And so I was like, okay, you think about it and we'll figure out something. And so my dad has, Wesley Davidson?
The bicycle
First
shop.
Light?
Yeah.
Okay, so Wesley and my dad know each other. They go to lodge together. They're Masons. And so Timmy thought that Wesley was one of the coolest people he'd ever seen in his life. Number one, he was working in a bike shop, and he had this cool job. And, I mean, Wes is just cool. If you know him, he's just a cool dude. And so Timmy was like, I think that I want to have a bike ride. I was like motorcycle bike? He was like, road bikes. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And so he said that he wanted to find an organization that was going to help people like him and be there for his brother and sister.
Oh.
And so I started kind of researching things in the community. I wasn't working for Hospice then. I was in the ER Iredell. Started researching some things, looking at some things, and I had remembered that Kay Miller was at Hospice then, and she had actually talked to me about the Rainbow Kidz program. Well, no, she wasn't at Hospice then, but she had talked to me about it earlier, months and months before, or maybe even a year before that. And so I told Timmy about this program, and I thought that it was just for like pediatric cancer patients, because I didn't know anything about it then. And so I called Leanne Darty at Hospice and Timmy and I went and met with her and Mindy Rice. And Timmy was like, this is what I want to do. So many people have helped me. I want to have a fundraiser to help this program. So when I'm gone, because he knew that at some point, so when I'm gone, it can help kids like me and my brother and sister and things like that, after Leanne told him kind of what was going on. So we had that first one, and we've had it, it'll be 9 years this year.
How insightful is it for someone like, or for Timmy, to sit there and realize that it's not just, he wants to give back, yes, but he wants to give back for kids like him, but also their family, because he realized what the impact that it had. And I don't think a lot of people would have put all that together, God.
So when okay, so of course he was my kid and I'm a little partial, but when I say that he was a special human, he was a special human. And he was so in touch spiritually. He was so in touch, and he saw the good in everybody. And he could put so many things together. He taught me so much. And he taught his dad so much. And he just paid attention to the way people felt.
Yeah.
And the way that people responded to things. And so when I say that he was a special human, he really was.
There's not a lot of people that you meet in life who are in tune with other people's feelings.
Because people don't care.
They don't give,
Because we live in an all about me society.
And it's getting worse.
And
it's getting worse. So I think you're right that he was an exceptional young man. And I know
amazing.
you guys are very proud of him and miss him. And it's wonderful too that you guys have this bike or ride and run every year to keep him and his memory and his dream alive.
And that's why we do it. You know, it's my family gets involved in it. A lot of my friends get involved in it. Timmy had a friend, his name was Cody Johnson, who is also an amazing human, and he's still kind of like ours. He is actually in grad school at WVU. Woo. And so his mom, Lori, was kind of like Timmy's second mom, because when Timmy was sick, I would never let him go anywhere else but to Lori's house because of germs and stuff like that. And so Lori and Jeremy play a big part in it. And it's just a way for us all to kind of come together and just remember him and celebrate him and just the goodness that he brought and the joy that he brought to our lives. You know, it started out as just a bike ride. Right. And now it's turned into the bike ride and the 5K and the 10K. And the bike ride's going to be huge this year. And I'm so excited because it was not like the run got really big, but the bike ride kind of dwindled down a little bit. And so Mindy and I had actually bounced back and forth the idea of cutting out the bike ride, but I was always so hesitant because that's where it started.
That's the start, right? That's
what he wanted. And so this year, Chris Hazlip and what's the new bike shop downtown?
You got me on that one. Lori's listening, by the way.
Lori Fox. Hey, Lori.
Cycles. Crossroads Cycles.
Yeah.
Is it Crossroads? So
yeah, I think so.
If anybody's listening out there, you can please correct me on that.
So I think it's Crossroads, but they have really got involved this year, and they have made beautiful jerseys for our cyclers, and it's just grown by leaps and bounds. And I'm just so excited to see the bike ride grow. So I'm hoping it'll be really big this year. Next year will be 10 years. We're planning on having a huge blowout for the 10 years. And I think last year they raised somewhere around $30,000.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
when is the ride and run this year?
It is May. Hold on.
Is it May 4th?
It's the first weekend in May.
Saturday, May 4th.
Yes.
And where is the race located?
It's at Western Avenue Baptist Church. That's where they start.
And they finish?
Yes, and they finish there.
I feel like there's a lot of hills near there, the museum.
Well, wuss.
I'm already sore. I'm already sore.
So what about those guys that ride that 65-mile bike ride?
You know, I could probably drive the car and follow them.
Well, we can let you drive the sweep car this year.
How far is the run? Is it a 5K?
There's a 5K and a 10K.
Oof.
Or you can do the 1 mile fun run, Brandon.
No, hey, honey, if you're still listening, what are we doing May the 4th? Because
he needs to do the 1 mile fun run.
No, I'll do the 3 mile, 3.1. I'll do it. If Kevin Head does it with me, I'll do it. Kevin
Head, can he run?
Yeah, we ran. Did you hear that? You know what's funny about that? He and I ran in the 4 run at the Halloween Hobble last October.
And y'all were hobbling when it was over.
Well, we were, and we had a gentleman's bet. You know, he's a runner. I don't know if you keep up with him on Facebook. He has thoughts while running.
Really?
And yeah, he runs probably 2 or 3 miles a day or something like that.
Or
when he can't, yeah, get him. However, you know, this guy here just got out of the recliner and beat him by 3 minutes. I don't run, and I'm not good at it.
Goodness.
However, we have challenged one another, and we are going to do the 6-hour run for the Halloween. So the Drew Coombs puts this on,
yeah,
and you can run the 4 mile fun run, which that's a horrible name, or you can run 6 straight hours, 12 straight hours, 24 straight hours, or 100 miler. Okay, and Wesley Lockman actually ran 100 miles. In 24 hours last year. Congratulations, Wesley. So Kevin and I are going to do the 6-hour straight run this year. And my goal is I'm going to run for a charity, Good Souls, through a friend of mine. And I'm going to try to raise $1 per mile that I run. My goal is to run 20 miles.
Nice.
It's my goal. So, and well, I don't know if it's nice or not, but in Jeremy's Good Souls charity provides steel-toe boots for men and women in transition who are trying to get their life back in order.
Oh, wow.
And most of these people have low-skilled jobs, so they're manual labor, and they need steel-toe boots. Well, they go to get the job, and then they don't have the $25 steel-toe boot, so they lose that opportunity. So Jeremy has found a need, and he's provided 1,000 steel-toe boots in 2 years.
Wow.
And now he's getting married to a girl here from Statesville, and he's branching up into Statesville, and I believe he was meeting with the men's shelter last week. But Hunk of Junk Colin donated 12 pair of boots this year.
That's awesome.
And so I'm going to raise money to help for that charity this year. It's going to be painful.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it. I've not started training.
Drew ran
in the first
one. Dude, he runs like a gazelle.
Like a deer. You know, he turned the wrong way. He ran an extra mile.
I know. And he ran barefooted.
Did he run barefooted?
He ran barefooted. He is amazing.
He is. You know, he does ultras too.
I know. And he came across the finish line, not like, wasn't even sweating. Just.
Yeah, because he finished, and I don't even think I'd started yet, and he come through that thing like a deer.
Gosh, he is.
Yeah, he has a great story too. He's actually been on the show.
Oh yeah, I know. I've heard it.
You've heard? Yeah, that was a good episode. He's a great human being too.
Yeah, I like Drew.
So if people don't want to run or ride or do a 1 mile fun run, can they donate?
Absolutely.
And how do they donate, Jodi?
How do they donate? Absolutely. You can get online. Rainbow Kidz Ride and Run has a website or has a Facebook page that you can get on and donate that way. You can send your donation straight to Hospice and Palliative Care, and we can get it that way. Or you can just come that day and walk. You don't have to run. You can walk.
You can walk. How much does it cost to run or ride in the event?
So I think the entry fee is $25.
Okay, not bad.
No,
not bad. Everybody hear that?
I think that's what it is. I'm not good with all the details.
You're not good with numbers? I'm not good with details.
I'm not good with all the details. I just show up when they tell me to.
That's right. You just show up and be pretty.
That's right.
You're cute.
At least you're cute.
That's right. And if someone wanted to be a sponsor, like, is there a certain number of sponsors that the event could have? Obviously not for this year, but in the future, is sponsor, like, the number of spaces unlimited?
It is unlimited.
Okay.
Now, we have different levels of sponsorship. Of course, the highest level of sponsorship, we try to get your name out there, put it on the t-shirt, put it on the cycles, put it on all the banners and the signage and all that kind of stuff. So, we have had some amazing sponsors. I wish that I could remember them all off the top of my head, which I cannot. I know, the FOP has been fantastic to us. Yes. Excel, what's the...
It's okay. We won't hold it against you.
Yeah,
it's all right.
don't.
We won't.
I wish... So, Mindy Rice...
Yep.
Is like the girl with all the details. And usually I can be like, hey, Mindy, what's their name?
Yeah. That's right.
And she's not here with me tonight, so...
If you're like me, I have this. I can't remember anything. I have an 8 gig... As many lumps to the head as I've taken, I can't remember anything.
Yeah. Well, I think mine may be old age right now.
That's fair.
I'm not going to tell everybody how old I am.
You can say old age. Yeah.
Proto.
Shut up. Do what?
Proto.
Yeah.
What's proto?
Proto. Yes, proto. Cindy Atkins. Yes.
Proto. Oh, proto.
Cindy Atkins is amazing.
I'm not even lying. I thought he was talking about a memory disorder called proto.
I was like, yeah, Julius, I got that.
I was a little late chiming in with that, but I just got the note from Lori, actually.
Yes, proto. So Cindy Atkins is one of our huge volunteers at Hospice. Huh?
Goodyear.
Goodyear is one of our...
The sponsors are coming
is
in.
one of our top ones. Yeah, y'all
Please
send them
in.
in. Yeah. So back to Cindy. She is one of our hospice volunteers. She's amazing. She has done so many good things for hospice and for the Ride and Run. Her and her husband, she does all the volunteer coordinating and all that kind of stuff for the run. And she actually is battling cancer right now herself. So she is amazing. Just a little shout out to her because I love her dearly. Benfield Sanitation. Yes. Somebody tell me what the Excel thing, something for Excel.
Discount tire?
Excel discount tire?
No.
Excel? You mean the Excel spreadsheet stuff? You mean Excel and excellence?
No. You know what? Am I going to have to
Drug.
take Lowry Drug?
Yeah, that's another one.
Thank you.
Mindy.
Well, Timmy and Lori are chiming in with
The sponsors.
the sponsors.
Yeah, keep the sponsors coming.
We're waiting for the Excel with PSNC Energy.
Yes,
PSNC
they're a big
Energy?
one. They
Yeah.
send a ton of volunteers, like 25
That's a
volunteers
big
every
company,
year.
yeah.
And thank you to all the volunteers that we've mentioned so far. And if we can't get to all of you,
Engaged to Excel.
Engaged to Excel. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Thank-
That's up there
thank
off
you
of
so much,
Crawford
Lori.
Road.
Yes, they
Yes.
have done.
Susan Toll.
They've done a ton of stuff for the Ride and Run. They are awesome. They're one of our biggest supporters too. I'm texting Mindy to see if she's.
That's fine.
This is my lifeline.
It's your lifeline. Hey, we all have to have a lifeline.
That's right.
What are there other things that Rainbow Kidz that it does in the community outside of the grievance grieving share and counseling and stuff like, or is that their main focus?
That is their main focus. They do lots of things for those kids. Like I said, they do the camp every summer, and they've just expanded that.
Is the camp locally, or they go somewhere?
The camp is local. It's at the Boy Scout off of
Davy Avenue.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and so they have it over there.
We should play charades.
We should.
We should do a $100,000 pyramid.
We should.
Right. So far, we're doing pretty
We're
good,
doing fantastic.
except for Excel to manage or
You're
whatever.
Excel tire? Yeah, no.
Tharp Robbins, another one came in.
Tharp
Oh,
Robbins.
yes, Tharp.
Thank you.
So they have it at the Boy Scout little thing there, and they go to the rec and do the wall climbing and play in the pool, and then they do stuff at the Boy Scout. So it was just 1 week, but it's gotten so big that they've had to expand it to 2.
Oh, wow.
They have a holiday party for those kids. They have, just all kinds of events through the year to keep them active, and just really letting them, I think, providing them a place to be happy, with people
Yeah.
that are sharing the same kind of feelings they are.
Yeah, it's got to be good to get out, either from the classroom, like at school
Yeah.
when you're doing your grievance share,
Mhm.
or wherever, and get out and be in nature and learn stuff. Because I'm sure
Yeah.
there's some sort of, they're learning some sort of skill.
Oh, they have a blast. They bring in like, I think Zootastic came in last year, and Ulysses comes and plays for them. Ulysses.
Yeah.
So he comes to camp and has played for them a couple times and things like that. So they have some really cool stuff that goes on.
So it's a year-round thing that they got, that the
Yeah.
Rainbow Kids. It's not just the run. I mean, this is a
Oh yeah.
year-round, full-time
Mhm.
program.
So what the Ride and Run does is, so Rainbow Kids is completely funded by donations,
100%.
100%. And so, they have grants and
Yeah.
and things like that, but that's how it runs. And so what the Ride and Run does is it dumps money into this program to buy materials for the groups, pay for camp stuff,
Mhm.
pay for the holiday party, whatever. So
And so next year is going to be the 10-year. That's going to be the big one.
yeah.
Right. So I'm already sitting there thinking, what are you going to have? Is there going to be music? Is there going to be food trucks? Maybe barbecue?
So the very first year that we had it,
Yeah.
it was like a huge, like we had food and a band and all this kind of stuff. And I told Mindy that I would love to do something like that. And I know that it, like, those girls are like, yeah, you have all these bright ideas, but who's going to bring them to life? So I would love
That's
to.
what y'all are for.
I know.
They're your lifelines.
I would love to do like a color run, and
Ooh.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I hope it'll be awesome. I think it'll be. They probably won't let me say too much, but because then they're like, God, but then we have to do so much work.
No, I think, it should be big. It should
Oh,
be a
yeah.
huge celebration.
I'm super excited. 10 years, that's huge.
That's huge.
You know?
A lot of things fall apart.
Yeah.
There's a lot of marriages don't last 10 years.
Yeah. And I will say, just a little shout out to our team at Hospice that really has gave 100% to this.
Mhm.
We have employees that volunteer, people in the community that it's the same ones every year that really give their time. Mindy Rice has been amazing. She just jumps in there and does whatever needs to be done. She kind of is like the operator of everything that day, so I can just visit and see people and things like that, because a lot of times that's the only time I get to see a lot of people that I hadn't seen in a long
Right.
time. And so they just jump in there, and it means so much to me to have that support from my coworkers and people that I work with, and the organization that I work for loves it as much as I do.
Yeah.
So that is just huge, and I just appreciate them so much. They will never know how much me and Tim and my whole family just appreciates what they put into it.
It's nice to have the support of your work family,
Oh yeah,
your employer that
absolutely.
totally basically engulf you in support and love
Yeah.
and help with this and
Yep.
support. There's a lot of things that I don't think people know that hospice provides and does outside of the obvious.
Right.
And hopefully I'm going to have an opportunity maybe to have someone from there come on here and maybe we can help spread a little bit of the word that
I
people
would
don't understand.
love for you to. Hospice is not somewhere that I ever wanted to work.
Sure.
I was an ER nurse.
Yeah.
And I loved that.
Sure.
But Timmy, the last 4 months that he was alive, he was we had hospice at home, so he could be at home. And Marty Cass was our nurse, and he became part of our family. And I have to work with him now. Now I don't love him at work, but he does hold a small part of my heart. But so it was just, I was able to be Timmy's mom during that time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to be his caregiver. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have to be the nurse, and I didn't have to worry about medicines and things like that. Max Martinez was a hospice nurse then. He did on call, and there were so many nights that Timmy was in a lot of pain and he'd need his pain medicine upped or whatever. And I could call Max and be like, listen, he's in a pain crisis. He needs something. And Max would tell him, be like, give him this. I'm on my way. And I could fix Max a pot of coffee and turn the History Channel on, and him and Timmy would just sit up all night, and Max would take such good care of him and just stay as long as he needed to stay in order for Timmy to be comfortable. And that meant so much to me. And so I didn't really think I would ever work at hospice. Marty kept trying to get me to come there, and I was like, I don't think I want to be around that all the time. But when I got there, I love it. I love what it is. It's been fantastic for my own healing process just to be there.
I was going to ask, do you think it helped you through the grieving process working there?
Absolutely, it has. I think just being able, I know what those families go through. I know what they're feeling. I know how hard it is. And I think, I know that God probably put me there, but everything just kind of fell into place for me to work there. And it happened so fast that I don't even remember how it happened.
Right.
And I have been able to take care of my friends' parents, my friends' husbands, my friends' kids. I've been able to be there through some really hard times for people that I wouldn't have been able to. And I've been able to say, you know what, I've been in your shoes, and the way you're feeling is totally okay. So I love it. I love working for hospice, and people don't understand what it is. I think that people associate death and hospice in the same sentence, and that's so not what it is. It's more about support and us just being there to help you through the hardest time of your whole entire life, and giving you the opportunity to spend the time that you need and not have to be so stressed out and the caregiver and all that kind of stuff, So people are really undereducated about hospice, and I would love for you to have somebody on that could just educate the community, because hospice is, we have patients that we've had for I've been there 6 years and we still have patients that we've had since I started. Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah. So it's one of those things where, you meet the criteria for hospice, but that doesn't actually mean that, hey, you're out of here in 6 months.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or less.
Yeah. And so it's about us just giving you a service and making your life a little easier and making families' lives easier because, we have the hospice house and we have so many services that we can offer that just gives you that quality at end of life. It just lets you live for a while.
Going back to Max for a moment, there's not a lot of humans on the planet that can do what Max and others do. Number one. Number two, there's not a lot of nurses that could do what those people do. So that's a special kind of person that can do that, and it's not for everybody. And those people get a special jewel in the crown when they go meet the big man.
We have an amazing team of nurses. I could not have handpicked a better group. They are so compassionate and they love what they do and they're there for a reason. And a lot of our nurses, a lot of them have their own story.
Yeah.
A lot of them have their own reason for being there, their own reason for wanting to do hospice. And so, in some way, I think they can all connect with somebody. But we have a phenomenal group of nurses, and we have recently done a lot of hiring because we're growing so much. And even the newer ones that's come in, we just all feel like a family because it is a hard job. It's a hard job to be around death all the time.
Do they offer you guys any sort of grievance?
They do.
Because I would imagine being around it, it's got to be tough.
Yes, they do. We have a bereavement program that takes care of us and takes care of the community. So they are forever doing things for us to be able to debrief and unwind. And if our nurses have like a hard and difficult case, then they always give them the opportunity. We have social workers and chaplains and all that kind of stuff. So they do a fantastic job at keeping us mentally well.
There was a lot of time, I'm sure you feel the same way. You probably get this, when we have a loved one who's sick or ill, with our experiences as nurses in the emergency department, they look at us like we are just a bunch of cold-hearted.
Yes!
Like, just not, like, how are you even a nurse? You have no compassion. You got the sniffles.
Yeah. So Adam
Get a tissue.
So when Adam was younger, he had this, one of his little friends was over at the house and he fell outside and cut his arm and he was bleeding and he was like, "Are you not even going to tell your mom?" And Adam was like, "She don't care."
It's not hanging off. She don't care.
It's bleeding. Get a Band-Aid.
So that, so now going through what you went through with Timmy, how have you and Tim managed to absolutely not wrap Adam and Lily up in bubble wrap? And no, I'm being serious because Adam rides bulls.
He does ride bulls.
Your son rides bulls.
He does.
I wouldn't let my kids out of the. I would homeschool them. I would pad everything.
Well,
I don't know. Actually, you know what? I don't know what I would do.
So I think that what we learned the most through all of this, and so people thought we were absolutely nuts when Timmy was sick because when he did chemo, his platelet count was really low. So if he got cut or something like that, then he'd bleed out.
Yeah.
Well, he loved to ride dirt bikes. And
I remember. Yeah.
Tim and I were like, "Hey, your platelets too? Go ride your dirt bike.
Don't worry about that ruptured spleen. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and
You'll
people were like,
fine.
"You are nuts. I can't believe." But, our biggest thing was let him live.
Yeah.
Let him live. We don't know how long we're going to have him. We don't know how long he's going to be here. So just let him live and let him enjoy the things that he loves to do. And so I think that's where we are with Lily and Adam. They've always been ball players, which I was much better with Adam being a ball player than I was a bull rider.
I'm on your side with that.
You know, we're not opposed to letting them try whatever they want to.
Sure.
And I think that we do that because we've learned that we're not in control of them.
Right.
You know, God gave them to us. He chose us to take care of them, but he loves them more than I do.
Right.
So I have to let them live.
Man, that's tough.
You know, I have to let them live. And so when Adam said, "Hey, Mom, I think I want to ride bulls," the ER nurse in me was like, no.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about all that we've seen from the rodeos.
No.
You're not.
So the first few times he did it, I was like, oh my God. But now I'm just like, nah, he's fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
He's had a couple of concussions, dislocated shoulder. You know, he's been knocked out a few times, cuts, bruises, stepped on, stomped on, whatever.
I mean, so the concussions, the whole CTE thing. I mean, hello, Jodi. Football. You know, we're learning NASCAR drivers are getting out of racing cars because of head trauma.
Adam also plays football. So have you met Adam?
Yeah, yes. It's been a long time. He's grown up to be a fine young
He's
man.
got his license.
That's scary. I remember
many
many years ago when you guys said Tim said we're going to have a bail fund and not a college fund.
He always said that Lily would have a college fund and Adam would have a get out of jail fund.
Yep. Has that changed?
Well, he's not far from that. No, I'm kidding.
She's kidding. Not really.
No, he's a good kid. He's a good kid, and
you and Tim are two strong human beings. Let me just tell you, for what all you guys have been through, and there's other stuff that we're not getting. We're not gonna have time to get into. This could be a 6-hour show.
Yeah,
literally, because there's just some unbelievable stories.
I'd love to write a book.
You should.
I should.
You should write a book. And it would what not to let your kids do.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know if I would be as strong. I would like to say that I would be as mentally strong as you guys have been throughout this whole thing and dealing with other illnesses and whatnot outside of Timmy's. But y'all are two special human beings that I don't think a lot of people would be able to handle without it, really fracturing in many ways.
Well,
so kudos to you. If people don't pat you guys on the back, by gosh, they ought to. Because there's not a lot of people who would, number one, like being married's tough, having kids is tough, and then going through something like this, there's a lot of things that goes on in human marriage life.
Well, we had a lot of growing pains.
I'm sure.
We had to learn a lot of things together, and we are strong individuals, but we're stronger together. Oh, we're much stronger together. And, you were talking about... you don't know if you could handle it. I don't think any of us know until we're there. I don't know if you remember, but when we worked in the ER, there was, I was in orientation, and there was a 19-year-old that came in that had a horrible wreck, and Tammy and I had to go on the transport to Baptist with him.
Okay.
And I can remember let's see. We had Timmy then. He was like 3, I think, 3 or 4. Tim and I don't know how long we'd been married. I can't even remember what year it was. But we took care of him. And I can remember this like it was yesterday. Tammy and I were walking. We got him out of the ambulance and got him in there. And the trauma team swept him away. And I can remember walking out of the emergency room at Baptist Hospital and seeing his mom sitting there. And she had all these people around her. Her husband was there. All her family was there. And she was just sobbing. And I can remember thinking to myself, I will never be able to handle something like that as a mother. I can remember thinking to myself, because, being the nurse, we knew what the outcome of that was going to be. And I can remember thinking to myself, how is she going to deal with that in the morning? And I can remember thinking that to myself like it was yesterday. And I tell you what, I watched, them online and things like that go through this teenager's death and things like that. And when Timmy got sick, that she reached out to me.
You're kidding.
She did. She reached out to me. She sent me a card and just some amazing, and it was years later. it was years later. Just some amazing, encouraging words. And she remembered us taking care of her son and just the words that we spoke to her. And it was just an amazing moment in my life that I had done that and thought, how is she ever going to do that? And then here I am. How am I ever going to do this? And so you never know what you're doing in life, and you never know who you're taking care of or who you're going to touch or who
Right.
you're going to see. And I think that's one of the big things that we have tried to teach our children is life's not fun sometimes. It's not a Disney movie. It's going to throw you curveballs. It's going to throw you things. Tim and I had a plan when we got married. Oh, we had this fantastic plan.
Oh, I bet.
And so we had this plan when we got married, and that plan went out the window really quick. And so the biggest thing we wanted to teach our children was you never know whose life you're going to touch. So even in the hard times, you have to choose joy. You get to choose
You do.
whether you are going to let it define who you are or you're going to overcome it. When Timmy first died, there were days that I laid in the bed and couldn't get out. And Tim finally came in there one day. I remember it. He came in there and he was like, "Get up. You are done with this." And, I was like, "No, I'm not getting up." And he was like, "You are going to get up and be somebody and face this world. You got 2 kids." And so we packed up and we went away. We took Cody with us, Timmy's best friend, and we went away. And it was just such a time of rejuvenation and discovery. And on that trip, we just decided that we were going to choose joy for ourselves and our children, and that we will always carry him with us and he will always be a part of us. But we want to be able for people to see the joy in us and not let it define us. And I think my kids have rocked that out,
I
'cause
think
they're
that your entire family's rocked that out.
happy little humans most of the time when they're not being smart.
Well, that's because they've got. Well, that's because they have 2 strong parents that aren't going to let them
Well, I appreciate that.
do, something else. They don't have a choice,
True.
right?
True.
So, and there's not a lot of people who, because they would let them get away with murder because it would just be easier than
Yeah.
being hard on them and discipline, because then they're trying to feel sorry for them because of what
Yeah.
they're going through. Guess
So-
what? Anybody got time for that?
That's right. And if Tim Belcher is your daddy, you are not gonna put up with no crap. So it was so funny when Timmy was sick. He was a teenager.
Yep.
He still got in trouble. He wasn't perfect.
Sure.
And I would be the one that was like, "Oh, don't." And Tim was like, "Excuse me. He is still not gonna do that."
Right.
So Tim has always been the more of a disciplinarian than me.
Well, there's got to be a little bit of yin to the yang.
There
right?
is, but he does a fantastic job. And I'm starting to, now that our kids are getting to be teenagers and, when I talk, all they see is my mouth moving.
Right.
They don't really hear the words that come out of it.
They're just bouncing off their
Yeah,
face.
yeah.
Yep.
I'm starting to get a little more on the same page with him. So he's super excited about that.
Well, Jodi, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's been so
before-
much fun.
We sign off. Is there anything that you would like to say to anyone who's listening? Or before we do that, was there any question or anything, Julius, that anybody had?
No.
No?
No more questions. A few nice comments. Lori's enjoying the show. Loves the Belchers. Aunt Chili's baby. Rock.
Yeah. So Lily used to call her Aunt Chill.
Oh, Aunt
Aunt
Chill.
Chill.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would like to say to anybody before we jump off here, or a special thank you, or a shout out, or anything?
I think that I have covered most of it through the show, but probably my biggest thank you would be to our family and our close friends. I call them my tribe, and they know who they are. Because during all that time with Timmy, and even, Tim through all his, so Tim got diagnosed with cancer. So even through that, we have just always had this tribe of people that just surround us with love and any kind of support that we need. I never feel like I'm alone. And I just thank them, and my mom and my dad. They are amazing. I don't know what we would do without them. And, just my work family, um, this little family of old that I have, you, Karen, Ivy, Donica, just so many people that just surround us with love every day. I don't know what we would do. Everybody that helps with the Rainbow Kids Ride and Run, that is such an amazing event, and it is holds such a special place in our heart. And it's just kind of a day that we can celebrate him with people we hadn't seen in a very long time, and I just love it, and just thank everybody for everything they do, and thank you for letting me get the word out there. And I think that's it.
Well, you guys are truly an inspiration, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and I love you very
Thanks.
much.
I love you. It was fun.
It was fun. Hey, and thank you, too, to States Vegas Clothing. Go check them out on Facebook, Hunk of Junk Hauling, www.hunkofjunkhauling.com, and kasey.tate at Farm Bureau Insurance. You can look them up on our website. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you soon. Appreciate it. This is egg white I'm playing.
Is it?
Yep.
I love me some egg.